Chris Graham here for Trailblazer RV, here to take you through a 2020 KZ Sportsmen SE 271 BHSE. We'll start right here at the front of the trailer, where we've got your propane tanks and battery system. These are two 20-pound propane tanks. Both are full right now with an automatic switchover propane regulator. You can see right now it's pointing at this bottle, making this the supply bottle, and the sight glass is red. That shows that there's no propane flowing from this bottle. So as I open the valve, the sight glass turns from red to clear, showing that the propane is flowing. What we recommend is opening both bottles. Then the regulator will deplete the first bottle before it starts to pull from the second bottle. Once that happens, this sight glass will turn red again. You can switch the regulator over and remove the first bottle to go and refill it without ever shutting down your propane system. Behind the propane tanks is the battery. It's a 12-volt deep cycle RV marine battery with two leads going to it, black to negative, red to positive. It's a flooded wet cell battery, so it does require some maintenance. We recommend once or twice a year removing these two caps to check the fluid level in the cells. If it's a little bit low in any of the cells, or especially if you can see metal plates sticking through, top up the fluid with some distilled water and put a good charge on the battery. This trailer has a battery disconnect switch showing green for connected right now. Red is disconnected. When you're putting the RV into storage, you might disconnect the battery to keep it from discharging. When putting the RV into winter storage, we still recommend removing the battery and storing it inside somewhere where it's not going to freeze. And preferably, if you can, put a charge on the battery once or twice over the course of the off-season. Here in the front storage compartment is where you'll find your 30 amp power cord. Many of the sites that you visit will have 30 amp power, but for those that don't, we supply a 15 amp park adapter as well. And right in behind this panel, you can open that up to access your water pump. The water pump has a siphon line installed on it already, so when you go to winterize, you can use this siphon line to pump antifreeze through the lines. And you'll do that by closing the valve to the freshwater tank and opening the valve to the siphon line, like so. Then you can turn on your water pump and pump directly from the siphon line. Some more features of your freshwater system. This is where you'll fill your freshwater holding tank. We recommend for that using a white drinking water specific hose rather than just a normal garden hose, so you don't get the plastic garden hose taste in your water. And you can hook up to city water connection here if you're staying at a serviced site. If you're hooking up to city water, we recommend using a water pressure regulator. It's just a little brass piece about this big that fits on the end of your hose to maintain a consistent operating pressure in the water system and not over pressurize the water lines. To drain your freshwater tank, you'll find a drain valve right underneath. Here at the running gear, your tires are inflated to 65 psi, and we do recommend running them right at 65 psi. Your lug nuts are also torqued to 100 foot-pounds. We recommend periodic retorquing of your lug nuts with a towable RV, as well as repacking of your wheel bearings. This one has the Easy Lube axles, so if you remove this rubber cap, you'll find a grease nipple in there that you can use a grease gun to grease your inner and outer wheel bearings. That doesn't eliminate the need to repack wheel bearings, but it does prolong the intervals. As long as you're giving it some fresh grease once a year or so, or once or twice a year, maybe instead of repacking wheel bearings every year, you repack wheel bearings every 3 to 5 years. Right here is where you'll dump your holding tanks. We supply a new 20-foot medium heavy-duty sewer hose. It's stored in the rear bumper right now. Hose attaches right here. Other end goes into the ground. and you've got two valves, a larger black valve and a smaller gray valve. Always dump the black valve first. And then once that's finished dumping, you can close this valve and pull the gray valve to use the gray water, the sink and shower water, to flush the contents through the sewer hose. This is where that 30 amp power cord will attach, right at the back. Spare tire is mounted on the rear bumper. It's worth noting that the trailer doesn't come with a jack or a wheel wrench. No trailer does. The tow vehicle should have a jack capable of lifting the trailer, but you'll want to make sure that your tire wrench fits the wheel nuts for this trailer, because they don't always fit, and you might want to pick up another wheel wrench in case you need to change a tire on the fly. Here at the hot water tank, this is a gas electric hot water tank. So if you're staying at a site with electricity, you can turn this black switch to the on position to heat your water electrically. It also has two black reset buttons here. If you ever overheat the tank, most often because it started up without any water in it, you'll have to press these reset buttons before you can start the tank again. You'll drain the water from the tank by pulling the plug out of the bottom here. It's a 1 1/16 inch socket, and on the end of the plug is a rod about this long. It's your sacrificial anode rod. So the anode rod will corrode over time to preserve the inside lining of the tank from corroding. It does need to be replaced every few years, typically every 3 to 5 years depending on the water quality. Before you pull that plug out, make sure to bleed the pressure off of the water tank using the pressure relief valve. Yeah, that's about it for the water tank. Here around the side of the trailer, you've got a big storage compartment here. Fridge vent. You can remove this panel to access the back of the fridge for cleaning or repair work, but it's mostly just a vent. The fridge needs some air circulation to work properly. And furnace vent is here as well. And this gets very hot, so make sure if you've got young kids around the trailer that they know not to touch this. For your entry step, you'll want to use two hands on the under the bar, slide the whole steps out, roll, and flip. So flip, roll, slide. And your awning is controlled from right inside the trailer. So your awning is controlled from the switch right inside here. Just press and hold the awning extend button. The awning extends 8 feet. And you don't have to extend it the full 8 feet. You can stop it halfway if there's a tree or another RV in the way. Once the awning's fully extended, it can be height adjusted by pulling down on the lower awning arm. Both arms are adjustable, but we recommend lowering one side to control where your rainwater drains off. Before you retract the awning, we recommend putting both arms back up to the full height. That'll ensure that the awning canvas rolls up straight on the roller tube. Come on inside the trailer and we'll go through a few more things. Right next to the awning switch is the slide switch. So if we press and hold the out button, the slide extends 3 feet. Once it's reached its full extension, you'll hear a ratcheting sound. And that means that it's fully extended. You can remove your finger from the switch. A couple of switches inside for your main entry lights and your outside awning light. Here in the kitchen is your 3-burner gas stovetop. To light the burners, turn the burner knobs to the pilot setting, and you can light all 3 burners using the piezo sparker. The oven can also be lit using the piezo sparker. To light the oven, turn the knob to pilot, push in on this knob, and the pilot will light right underneath here. If I turn the sparker, you can see the pilot running. Hold in on the knob for another 10 or 15 seconds for the thermocouple to heat up. And once you release that knob and the flame stays on, you can turn it up to temperature to light the burner. Once you're finished using the oven, you can turn it back down to pilot and just leave the pilot burning, or turn it all the way off and relight the pilot next time you need to use the oven. The switch next to that activates your backlit stove burner knobs. Your fridge is an automatic gas electric fridge. If you turn the switch on and set the mode to A for automatic, if it has electricity available, like it does right now, it'll always run on electricity, but you can override the electricity to only run on propane, and you might find that the fridge cools a little faster on propane than it does on electricity. For now, I'll leave it in automatic mode. This model of fridge also has some temperature adjustment, 1 being the warmest, 5 being the coldest. I usually leave it on 3 or 4. Right below the fridge is your power converter. You can hear the power converter kind of humming a little bit right now, and that's perfectly normal. Anytime it's operating under load, if your air conditioning is running or it's charging your battery as it is right now, you might have the fan making a little bit of noise, nothing to worry about. This is where you'll find all of your fuses for your 12-volt circuits and breakers for all of your 110-volt circuits. You'll see you have mostly 15-amp fuses, but you have a few 20-amp and 40-amp. So not a bad idea to have some spare fuses available, just in case you do have to change one in a campground. It's not uncommon in an RV to blow a fuse. Right to my left here is the thermostat. This controls both the heating and cooling systems for the RV. So to run the air conditioning fan, turn the system over to fan, or the air conditioning itself over to cool. The air conditioning fan has 2 speeds, low and high, and automatic per the thermostat, or just always on. The furnace fan only has 1 speed. So to turn the system over to heat and set the thermostat to a temperature you're comfortable at, the furnace fan comes on immediately, but it's going to be a few seconds before we actually hear that burner light up. We should be able to hear it when it happens. There you go. Now if we give it a few seconds, we would have warm air blowing from our floor registers. Once the system comes up to temperature, or you shut it off, the burner goes out immediately, but that fan's going to continue to run for another 30 seconds to a minute just to go through its cycle before shutting down. Down here near the floor is where you'll find your propane carbon monoxide detector. So this will do 3 things. It'll alert you to a propane leak. However, if you have a propane leak in the trailer, you'll almost certainly smell the propane before the alarm goes off. It could also alert you to a carbon monoxide situation, in which case you wouldn't smell anything. And the third thing that this can alert you to is a low voltage situation. It's wired into the RV's electrical system, so if your RV battery gets very low, this can alarm just like a smoke detector does when its battery is low, just to alert you to the low voltage. Here in the bathroom, a couple of things to talk about. The power outlet in here is your GFI outlet. So just like the ones in your home with a test and reset button, the only difference in an RV is this is wired in series with several of the other power outlets. So if you trip this, you'll lose power at many of your outlets. If you're ever plugged into power and can't figure out why there's no power at the outlets, just come in here, press the reset button, and that should reset the whole circuit. You've also got your monitor panel here, so you can see that your battery is currently charging, C for charging. Fresh tank is completely empty, black tank completely empty, and gray tank completely empty. This is where you'll activate your water pump to pump water from your freshwater tank, and also where you'll turn on your hot water tank. And you can use the hot water tank on electricity. Remember, if you're using it on electricity, that black rocker switch on the outside of the tank also has to be on, or propane. When you go to light the tank on propane, the red fault light comes on, showing that the burner is not currently burning. But just like the furnace, if we give that a few seconds, we should hear the DSI spark and that burner light up. Just like so. And from cold, it'll take that water heater 20 or 25 minutes to heat the water up to temperature. Anytime you're using your RV's sewer system, you'll want to make sure and use a good potent RV toilet chemical. Chemicals available in liquid, powder, or tablet form. And when you add chemical to the tank, pour some chemical into the bowl, use the foot flush, push halfway down to fill the bowl with water, and then the rest of the way down to dump the whole works into the tank. The chemical needs some water to activate it, so always make sure you add some water when you add chemical to the tank. And you'll want to add new chemical to the tank immediately after every time you dump your holding tanks. We talked about the propane leak detector. You also have a smoke detector. The smoke detector is not wired into the RV's electrical system. It has its own 9-volt battery, so you want to check that periodically, and just press and hold the test button to make sure that those batteries haven't gone dead. Right here is your 12-volt stereo system. So this is AM, FM, CD, DVD, USB, auxiliary, and Bluetooth, and has 2 speaker zones. Zone 1 is inside speakers, Zone 2 is outside speakers. Make sure if you're listening to music inside that you don't have your Zone 2 speakers turned on, or the rest of the campground will be listening to the same music you are. And it is a DVD player as well if you mount a TV. This is the wiring for the DVD right here. Here in the master bedroom, you've got a emergency exit window. This style of emergency exit window can be propped open to allow for some airflow. If you do need to use it for emergency exit, it hinges all the way up, and just use the red tab to pull the screen out of the window. There is a second TV location here on the wall, with a sticker showing the TV backer location. Sticker's not always in exactly the right spot, so make sure if you're going to mount a TV bracket here that you use a stud finder to find the stud in the wall. And I think for the most part that covers everything. Hopefully you've learned something about the KZ Sportsmen LE 271 BH, Sportsmen SE 271 BHSE. If you have any questions, you can always get a hold of us here at Trailblazer, or you can check our website, trailblazerrv.com. Thanks.